Life and business can be easy, but us silly humans love getting in our own way. My name is Nico Rapclis, and I've had a wild journey. From releasing traumas that I held on to for decades, to playing college athletics, working with multi-million-dollar brands, having a spiritual awakening, and now coaching incredible humans navigate their inner and outer world. The Just Grow podcast is my outlet to share and help others with life and business. After investing north of $100,000 into my personal and professional development, the Woo plus Do formula is what has served me best. A healthy combination of mindset, energetics, consciousness, spirituality, self-healing, and discovery, matched with a high-level strategy, principles, focus, optimization, and accountability to help you be, do, and have everything that has been placed in your heart. This podcast is for the impact-driven entrepreneur that is finally ready to start thriving internally and externally. Welcome to Just Grow. Yo, what's happening, my friend? Welcome to this episode of the Just Grow podcast. We're going to do another interview. This one will be with my good friend, Janine Hernandez. Janine is a podcaster, she is an author, and she actually helps aspiring authors publish their books. And she's just an incredible, genuine human being, and she's just doing a lot of great in this world. So we had an incredible episode about business, about life, that you're not going to want to miss. Now, before we jump in, as always, we wanted to let you know about justgrowpodcast.com and Just Grow Visions. We have a lot of cool stuff going on. We do live events on terms of the podcast side, and then we open up our coaching program every once in a while for Just Grow Visions, helping you turn your vision board into a vision video, as we like to call a movie, if you will. So if you want to check out any of that stuff, head on over to justgrowvisions.com or Just Grow Podcast. All the links will be in the show notes, but without further ado, let's jump in this interview with Janine Hernandez.
Miss Janine Hernandez.
Hi.
What's up?
How are you?
It's great to be here.
It is great to be here.
Well, I'm always here, but you're here now. Mm-hmm. So it's glad to have you here. I was just thinking about this. How did we meet?
I think Instagram.
Was it?
I don't know. Honestly.
Yeah. I think about it.
Maybe Instagram.
What was the first time we met? Like in person?
No, we did a Zoom.
Yeah.
Remember we did a Zoom?
Because I think it was Instagram, and then we got on a Zoom, and then I don't know the first time we met. Oh, probably at your event. Your book. Your launch event.
Remember.
Where you had your music video?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That was 2 years ago.
Wow. Time flies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to set a timer, speaking of time, for 45 minutes, and then that'll kind of give us a cue to just wrap it up. Did you, do you have a certain time cut off?
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah, it's been 2 years. I meet a lot of my friends through Instagram.
That's wild.
I become like best friends with them, and then eventually
it's a good way to network.
It really is.
So, what should we talk about? I mean, you love books. I kind of like them too.
I would hope that you do, because you have a whole wall of them. I am obsessed with books.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. Well, my dad loves to read.
Yeah.
So he's always been a reader, but I don't know. I've just always loved books, and if I, for some reason, ever had a house fire, the first thing I would grab are my books. Is that weird?
No.
I chuck them out the window because I need them all.
What is it about books?
They're full of knowledge. Mm-hmm. You can learn from them. I don't know. I just love it, and I read print books, ebooks, I'll listen to audios too, but there's something about having a physical book in your hand.
Yep.
And if it's hardcover, even better.
Yeah.
And then you can smell it. I don't know, I just love it. Yeah.
What's your favorite book?
Motivation Manifesto by Brendan Burchard.
It's a good man.
That's a good book.
I'd say he was pretty pivotal in my journey with high performance habits. Because there was a time when, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I got it in my head that this was a book I wanted to really dive in deep with.
Which one?
High Performance Habits.
Oh, okay.
And I just kind of said to myself, I was like, I want to read this book like I paid 10 grand for it. And I probably reread it 5 times. I took notes on everything. I treated it like a course. And it was pivotal. Because he was talking about how like high performers are people that are not only they high achievers, but they're happy, they're fulfilled, they're enjoying life, they're great family, great friends, great business.
You have a balance
Yeah.
in all aspects of your life, and you have good habits.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hence the title.
He's good. Yeah, that's one of my favorite books. I think I've read it a couple times.
Yeah. So how did you get into entrepreneurship?
I didn't want to work for nobody. That's honest to God, that's it. It's like I don't want to work for nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I don't like to listen to people, because I am very coachable, but I really just don't like somebody to tell me what to do, especially when it's something that I'm not passionate about. And I have to be there at 8 o'clock. Why? You know what I mean? Like, I just always wanted to do things my way. And I knew that at a very young age. When I was younger and I would talk to my parents about like, hey, I want to publish a book, we looked at traditional publishing and I said, no, I don't want to go through a traditional publisher because they're going to have me in a contract, and I want to be free. I want to do what I want. And I knew that at a very young age. And so I'm kind of still the same way of like, I just want to be free and create as I feel. So that's kind of how I got started.
I can relate to that. I've never really responded well to like, hey, I had a job, I was working at Dick's Sporting Goods. I think this was what it was, because I was talking to a friend recently, and we were talking like, why do I not respond well to people like saying, hey, do this. And it was on Christmas break. I think it was actually on Christmas Day, because it was in college, and I came back for like the holidays, got a cashier job at Dick's Sporting Goods. There's no one in the place, and we're waiting for it to open. And I'm so tired. It's like, whatever, 6 a.m. or something. And I like lay down on the counter because there's no one in there. I'm just like waiting for the store to open. And this guy, like our manager or whatever, gets on the intercom, like, Nick and Cash, please wake up, go. And he like had me like go, like make sure that the hangers were like
just tedious
one
work.
inch apart. I was like, no. And I think that's where it kind of came from. Mm-hmm. So how, like, where? Let's walk through your story about how. So you didn't like people telling you what to do. So where did it go from there?
I mean, I think I've struggled with that my whole life. Like even looking back to like when I was in school, I'd always ask questions like, well, why? Why is that? You know, very inquisitive of like, well, why do I need to do it that way? But in my journey, I got started as a receptionist. I eventually became an HR manager. And that was very interesting too, because I pitched it to my boss like, you know, you don't have an HR department. Hello, I could be your HR department. And these are all the reasons why. And then I became a manager, had no experience in HR. So I've always been very like go-getter mentality. But really for me is just, I was in corporate HR. I loved it because I got to help people. Like I love the fact that employee cultures might need, you know, certain aspects of it tweaked, and the employees can come to you and say, hey, I don't like this, and then I get to fix it. But at the same time, I was very unhappy. Like I just knew that was not my purpose. And they were wanting me to become the director of HR. And in order to do that, you have to get certifications. And I had absolutely zero desire to do the testing. And I think that was the big indicator for me of like, well, why don't you? You know, I didn't want to study for it. I didn't care if I passed it, you know, and actually I didn't pass it because I just didn't put any energy into it. And I think when I sat with myself finally, it was like clear to me, like, that's not what you were born to do. You weren't born to be an HR manager. And so I like asked myself, I'm like, what is it that you wake up every morning excited about? Books. And so, and at the time I already
asked yourself that question and that was the answer?
That was the answer, yeah.
Books.
And at the time I already had my business. I was doing one-to-one coaching, a side business, part-time, making some income. But when that became clear to me, it was like, oh, you got to leave your job And I did. Within 6 months, I left, and I went full force with my book publishing company.
Were you already making enough money to walk away?
No.
But so it was more of a leap.
It was a major leap, yeah. So, and I wasn't 100% prepared financially. Like they always say, make sure you save at least 6 months to a year of your salary. I didn't do that. But I just knew that it was coming. Like I could feel it. It was coming. And I could see a date in mind. And when I parted ways, even that day, I just knew. Like I knew. And I was in my office and I like typed up an email letter to myself just saying like, it's time for you to surrender. It's time for you to let go. And that was my last day in corporate America. And yeah, I took a leap. I didn't save money. I didn't really have a plan. My first day of being an entrepreneur, I called my mentor and I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing? You know, like I don't have somebody telling me what to do. So what do I do? And she's like, well, you could start off by creating a calendar and getting organized. And I'm like, okay. And yeah, I had no plan. I just went for it.
Looking back on that, what do you feel like you did well? What do you feel like you could have improved?
I did well in the fact of like not having fear and just finally doing it. I think a lot of people want to have a plan and be sure that they have certain amount of income already coming in. And I had people telling me, don't do it. I want to have you avoid the mistakes that I made. And so I'm happy that I just took the leap of faith because I figured it out and God has always provided. Like I've always believed in myself and I've always trusted in Him. And so I've never lacked. What I could have done better? Good question. I honestly don't think anything because I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, but they all taught me something. I learned from all of them.
Yeah.
And I'd probably do them again at some point. You know what I mean? Like, that's a part of the game.
What was the question that popped up as you were talking? I think that's incredible because I've been really passionate about this whole conversation about fear lately and choosing courage. And I feel like fear strickens people so much. And it stricken me for a long time. And, you know, there's still things I'm always fearful and I want to push through. And sometimes I don't do as good of a job. But I feel like when you don't face those fears, it sets you up for a lot of pain.
And misery. Like, you're ultimately not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
What would you say to somebody that is on the fence? I like that terminology a lot lately because I feel like that's where a lot of people are sitting these days, on the fence.
Of leaving their jobs?
Anything.
Or of anything, do it anyways. I love that saying.
Let me even ask this, I think this was kind of the question, is where do you think that came from for you? Where you just said, I'm gonna do it. I don't really have a plan, but I'm gonna do it. And you just like fully believed in yourself. Where does that come from? And if someone doesn't necessarily have that, how can they get it?
I think my parents, honestly. My parents are immigrants. They came from Colombia. They took a leap.
Yeah.
They could have, so many things could have gone wrong for them, but they took a leap. They started from the bottom. They built their businesses. They have multiple investment properties. Like, they're doing well. And they did it all for us. And so I think looking at them of like, they just go after it and they do it themselves. They don't have to ask anybody for permission. I think that's kind of where I get it from.
You're blessed.
I am blessed. I would like to think. Yeah.
So coming back to the question about people on the fence.
Do it anyway. Even if you have fear. I wish I could give a better answer, but it really is that. Like, I get afraid of things all the time, and then I just have to suck it up and do it anyways. And then once you do it, you're like, oh, that wasn't too bad. You know what I mean? And then once you overcome it, it's like, I want to do it again, you know, whatever that was. So, who cares that you have fears? Everybody has fears. I think that, I don't know. So for me, one of my biggest fears is that I will be on my deathbed, literally like on my deathbed, a few minutes before I'm about to pass away, wishing that I would have done X, Y, and Z. And because that is my fear, that is why I do the things that make me fearful. So for example, like skydiving, I was so afraid of it. And I actually had a coworker who was a professional skydiver. He skydived with 30 people like in formation, and his parachute got tangled with someone else, and he ended up hitting the ground and passed away. So it's very traumatizing. And for me, I'm like, why would anybody ever skydive? That's so stupid, blah, blah, blah. There got to a point in my business where I was like, if I don't overcome my personal fears, I will never overcome my business fears or even reach another level of success. So I went and I faced my fear of skydiving. I went and I jumped out of a plane. And it was one of the best experiences of my freaking life. And I can't wait to do it again. But I say that to say that, like, do you really want to be on your deathbed wishing, like, dang, I wish I would have jumped out of a plane one day. Or I wish I would have wrote that book. Or I wish I would have went hiking. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, because that's my biggest fear, that's why I do the things that I do.
I was out at the lake a few weeks ago, and I was having some really good conversations with some people, and the thing that kind of came to me is a two-part question is, what are you scared of, and when are you going to face it?
That's good.
And I find it interesting. I feel like people that just have that belief in themselves, they have that trust. They say things like you just did, like, just do it. Like, there's no map, there's no secret code. It's just Nike hit it on the head.
Just do it.
Like,
just grow. Just do it.
Just do it.
I had dinner with Robert Kiyosaki once, and the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So we had dinner, and he asked, what is your number one self-limiting belief around money? And I told him, well, my parents never taught me. That is the story that I always tell myself, is they didn't teach me, so I don't know. And he said, he looked at me in the eye and he says, how much longer are you gonna have that problem? Oh, that hurt. Coming from him especially, but it's like, ooh. And he's like, yeah, how much longer?
Well,
and it's the same thing with fear.
You know, I find this interesting. I went to a retreat a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about definitions of certain words, and one of them was beliefs. What they said is that it's a chosen truth. So you get to choose your beliefs, and then it becomes a story that you continue to rerun in your mind and tell yourself. And I just found that really fascinating because, I think for the longest time I'd be like, oh, well, what's my belief around that? And that's the thing that's either helping me or hindering me. But then I just like, well, just like what Kiyosaki said to you, is like, how long are you going to keep that?
Like, you get to choose today or tomorrow. Can I go turn it off?
Yeah.
You get to choose today or tomorrow.
Watch your mic.
Sorry. Sorry about that.
Okay.
But yeah, you get to choose. Let me get back in sleep. What was I saying?
You get to choose.
But yeah, you get to choose. Like, do you want to hold on to that for another 2 years, or do you want to just let it go and think of something different?
So when was that?
That was, I think, right around the pandemic. So like 2.5 years ago.
And what was your course of action after that?
I'm not gonna lie, after that, it took some time. It's still, I think growth, it evolves. It doesn't just happen overnight. Yeah. But if I look back, like the last 2.5 years, complete like 360, 180, whatever you want to call it. It has been life-changing. Like, I look at myself now and it's like, no, I get to make my own financial decisions. I hired a financial advisor that has taught me so much. And sometimes it's like it's a lot. But he's been teaching me like the credit stuff, business funding, business, like the business aspect of it, the personal aspect of it. Just, it's a lot of information.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for like stepping out of my comfort zone, and that's the thing too, is that I used to think, well, I don't have the money to do that, so there you go, there goes that, right? And it's like, no, now I invest in a financial advisor, and yeah, it's taking a big chunk of my money, but in return I'm getting so much more, and I'm learning so much. And he also tells me what I need to do, like, okay, this month this is what you're doing, this is what you're focusing on, you're paying off this, and then you're doing this, and we're going to allocate this. And I'm like, whoa, okay, great. But you learn so much. So really it's just putting yourself in a position of uncomfort.
Yeah.
And just doing it. And my business definitely, as far as like income wise, like I'm making obviously a lot more money than I did 2.5-3 years ago. But a lot of it comes down to belief and believing that I'm worth that. You know what I mean? So, and believing also, like I said, like I have never lacked, so I feel like God, I trust that he always has my back. So, yeah.
So what belief are you building right now?
I am a millionaire. I believe that I already am one. I'm just waiting for God to write the check. Like, seriously, that's what I've been really focusing on, like mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Like that money is already mine. My son is already taken care of. Like, my legacy has already been created. Just waiting for the signed check. You know what I mean? So,
and
yeah,
what's your process? Like, what's kind of like your day to day that helps you continue to enforce that you are becoming a millionaire?
I think that my process hasn't changed much because I've been doing a lot of personal development for the past 10 years. I do a lot of journaling and meditation and reading a lot of books. But I think the only thing that's different is, like I said, surrounding myself with different new people that are already where I want to be. And then I've just hired people that can teach me the things that I need. Like, for example, finance advisor, a tax accountant. I know there's one other person that I hired on. But anyways, yeah, like even a lawyer. I hired on a lawyer because at the beginning of my business, it was like, whatever, you know, just kind of brush things off, whatever. But now it's like, no, you have a business, like take it seriously. And so hiring on these 3 people that are helping me elevate, not only like mentally, like knowledge wise, but like my belief system. And then it's a game changer. So, yeah.
You know, I think that's all amazing. It's so important to just continue to invest in yourself. And like we were talking about before we got on, is like getting around those type of people, whether that is on Zoom or obviously I believe always in person is the best. But we hired a guy that's helping us right now, business mentor essentially. And there's always something to learn. And the reason I say that is because he's actually facing a really big challenge right now. And it kind of even stunted our coaching just a little bit because he was, putting out fires and stuff like that. And I found myself, getting slightly peeved at it, but we got on our call yesterday and he was explaining about like how is like somebody that they hired, and then I don't know all the details, and I probably shouldn't be sharing too many of them, but basically somebody that they hired kind of like brought in a bunch of his friends and to like steal money from the company and like just all this crazy stuff. But it was just interesting, like, yes, I'm getting knowledge, he's teaching me all these things on what to do in business, but now I got a real world example of a high level problem that I potentially could deal with in the future. That, because it's just like, I keep hearing this over and over, but it's like, I think we all inherently want to believe that the higher we go up, the easier it gets.
No.
But it just continues to get challenge after challenge, and another level, another devil.
I know you know Brie Morrison, right? So I had a conversation with her, and I was like, girl, this was like a year and a half ago. I was like, so now that you're at a certain income level, does it just get easier? Like, because I was like, as I grow, it just gets harder and harder and harder. And I said, so, but do you ever get to like a certain income level where
where's
it's
that
just, where it's just peaceful? And she's looked at me and she's like, no. She's like, when you get to my income level, then you're trying to get to the next one. And she's like, and then you're going to have to fight a whole new devil. And I'm like, ah. So it's never just going to be smooth sailing. And she's like, no, you're always going to be growing and always stretching and I found that fascinating because for some reason I thought that there was a place in the entrepreneur world where it's like, okay, once you hit $100,000 a month, it's like perfect. Nope.
Yeah.
They deal with bigger problems.
Yeah, I mean, like we've been talking about is like there's always going to be a challenge. There's always going to be the next level. But like the thing that continues to refine in me is that's why it's so important to not think like once I get there then. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, I'm here right now, and it's always gonna be here. There's no there, it's just here. And like enjoy it, is be present, enjoy it. I think about this from time to time is, I've even heard it like in movies or just like, whether it was like biographies and stuff, and people always say that the come up was the most exciting time. Like when they were in the garage, and when Bezos was in the garage, when Steve Jobs, they were put together, and it was just the beginning. Mm-hmm. And that was the best part. And so, I don't know, I think just taking that approach, just being present all the time, and the present moment always is the best part.
I think I sometimes forget that part.
We all do.
I think just recently, I would say within the last 6 months, I felt like I haven't accomplished anything. Like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? Mm. And then I think it was like right around New Year's, I always do like a recap of the year, post, whatever. And then I'm like, holy like you did all that. And so I think I sometimes forget. And that just kind of shows me that I need to be a little bit more present in the present moment, because if you look, like I said, if I look back even 3 years ago, like, oh my God, I've accomplished all of this, but I forget that because I'm constantly like, what's the next level? What's the next level? You know what I mean?
Don't let your ambition rob your gratitude.
Yes. And it's not that I'm not grateful. I am extremely grateful. I think I just forget. Like, oh, I did that? I don't remember.
I think reflection is so huge. Like I have a sheet that I go through pretty much every week. I started this year, and every Sunday, I probably missed like 2 so far. But I go through and it's just like constantly looking back on the last week and like, what did I accomplish? What realizations, what lessons did I learn? What did I not accomplish? What did I not feel great about? And just like really just getting a good look. And I kind of bring that up because I also did at the end of last year, or at the beginning of this year, reflecting on last year, as I looked at my calendar, and then I looked at like all my bank statements and credit card statements to see exactly where all my time went and where all my money went. Mm-hmm. And I have a mentor that says, if you show me where all your time and money went, I'll show you what you care about. Mm-hmm. It was a really cool exercise to like really just go through the whole year in January, February, March, April, everything. And just seeing, oh shit, yeah, that I invested into that. I did this, went on this trip, did this, had these conversations. And it was just really interesting to see like even where the trends were too. Like, why was I spending so much time doing this? I could delegate that, or I could, even take that off. Like, and I just think it continues to come back. It's like stay present in the moment, but I think reflection is just huge.
I like that, reflection. That's good.
Yeah. It was a game changer. Once I did that, I was like, I want to do this like every week, maybe even like every quarter. Mm-hmm. To like really, and like putting together, I've even started like putting together systems using some like technology. Technology's crazy right now. But there's such great tools out there to like really, I'm using this app to track my time, like always track my time. So I see like at the end of every week, like how much time I dedicated to sleep, how much time I dedicated to eating. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but you know, I've been learning from this guy that's really, really smart. And he even like, he'll also kind of like grade his days and his weeks, like on a 1 to 10 scale to see like how he's doing, basically like a joy scale. So he's looking at where his time's going, and he's looking to see if it's making it happier. And he's been doing this for the last 7 years, and he's been increasingly more happy and increasingly working less and spending more time with his family and making more money.
And that's the goal.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a time game.
Mm-hmm.
Time, energy, and priority goal game.
If it's not productive, delegate it. That's what I've learned this year.
And I think, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, but I think it's also, this is what I thought about, because it's like sometimes I feel like I'm working too much, right? And you could always get stuck in that, like, oh, more productive. But it's like, I think it's about, is this increasing the quality of my life?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like sometimes you just want to chill, hang out with friends, family, and whatnot, and that's adding value to your life.
I agree. Before, I used to think that I had to do it all myself, and if I wasn't busy, then I wasn't being productive. But I've learned that I should only focus on income-producing activities, and anything that, like literally, I just learned how to release control on this, but I've just started to delegate like everything to my assistant, like do this, do this, do this. And I'm just going to focus right here on these 2 things, literally. Mm-hmm. And then now I start to see a shift in my results because I'm not over here focusing on these little things that really don't bring me joy. They're not furthering me along. They need to be done, but I'm not going to do it. Do you understand? And so, and
what
ultimately,
are some of those activities?
Honestly, it's just miscellaneous like stuff that comes up that I've started to send to her. Like, for example, I do a monthly like newsletter email to all of my authors. Mm-hmm. That takes time. I'm like, girl, just do it. I just sent it to her. I've started to create some SOPs so that I could hire on employees, but having her help me with that as well. Like, I think I love to do busy work, but you don't get paid doing busy work, right? And I think too, I had this notion that like only I know how to do everything, and like I need to have control of the whole business, but it's like I need to trust other people too. And so I've started to just delegate more to her and give her projects, like, okay, I need you. So she's done a bunch of projects for me. But like right now, she's reaching out to all the cruise lines to see if we can pitch my book publishing academy and go present on the ships. So it's just a random, project that would potentially get me free vacations, but also get me paid. And so she's handling that. She's reaching out to them. She's creating a pitch. She's doing so she does a bunch of that stuff. And then I get to focus on just sales and visionary stuff. So, but it took a while to get. It took me like 7 years to figure out that you should probably delegate some of these things,
Yeah, it's a process.
Mm-hmm.
So you said something about visionary stuff. Let's talk about that.
I'm a very big visionary. I see things before they even happen, And it's a gift. And I love it, and I don't know, sometimes I see things and I'm like, yeah, that's gonna happen. And then when it happens, it ends up happening bigger than it was supposed to, you know what I mean? So it always amazes me. Like my visions be so small compared to like what God ends up creating, but I am a visionary, so.
What's the vision right now?
My vision? What's gonna happen in the next 10 years is I'm going to have a very successful book publishing academy, but I'm also going to have a CEO to manage it, so that I can go out into the world and be of service. That is my goal. Like I want to go put like libraries, put up bookstores in underprivileged communities, and help the homeless and just give back, you know? That's what I want to do. Centered around books and helping people share their stories still, but and then have someone fully manage. And then I might pop in every once in a while for meetings, but that's my goal. And then just creating a legacy to where I tell my son all the time, I was like, if I pass, you're going to be CEO of the company. So he's like, okay, Mom.
Oh, damn.
But yeah, I want to do, that's like the bigger vision stuff is like, okay, the money's coming, it's flowing effortlessly, we're able to pay everybody, but now you're able to go out into the world and give back. That's what I want to do.
So do you see yourself not being that involved in the company at that point?
I'll be involved more so they can give me updates on income. But
just to let you know.
And how much money I can
We're
spend.
making it rain right now.
Yeah, but other than that, I'll be involved still. I'll be involved. I love to inspire people, so I love to inspire my authors. But I think like the day-to-day stuff, I want out of that. I know that I want out of that, and I want to go out into the world and like expand.
Yeah.
My kingdom, whatever you want to call it. I don't know.
Well, I can even feel a different energy when you talk about that.
I get passionate.
Your face lights up a lot more when you start talking about that. Mm-hmm. That's very cool. What else is in your vision?
Conferences. Like I want to be hosting, right now we do an annual summit and it's virtual, but similar to CNC, like major, huge conferences with thousands and thousands and thousands of people and the Nikos of the world speaking on stage. You know what I mean? Like that. But like I said, I am a visionary. So like I see all these things, but I don't want to sit there and do it. Does that make sense? Like I don't want to be the person that puts it together. I'm just going to hire someone to help me do it.
I mean, that's a true visionary. Have you read Rocket Fuel?
No.
Really? So it's a good book. I don't know, actually I'm not even sure if I've read it. I've just like talked about it so much because someone explained it to me. I think I read a little bit of it. But it talks about rocket fuel. The whole concept is that in order for a company to have quote unquote rocket fuel, you have to have a visionary and you have an integrator. Mm-hmm. And it's important that you have both, because if you have a visionary that's in the clouds thinking about the big picture stuff, the ideas, but then they have to drop down into the doing and the actions, that's going to pull them away. That's why you have an integrator that just takes the ideas and goes, run with it. Mm-hmm. And obviously the integrator doesn't have the ideas, he just puts it in action. It's just like Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak was the perfect example of that. It wouldn't have existed. And it's funny, I feel like I saw something at one point where I saw someone like that was really throwing shade at Steve Jobs and saying it was Steve Wozniak that built that company. But it wasn't either or, it was both of them, because without both of them, it never would have gotten.
Yeah, because there's the people that are integrators, they can't do it without a visionary. Like they are not capable of seeing what's coming in the future. They need someone to tell them what, and then they go execute. I read that in another book. I don't remember what book, but when I read that book, it made sense to me of like, I'm a visionary. Like, for example, I can sell. I love sales. I can do it. I can close. Not my favorite thing to do though. Like, I'm good at it, but... And so when I read that book, I was like, I'm a visionary. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. I'm supposed to be over here doing this, and then I need to have a team that's going to help me execute.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because, I've heard of that whole concept of obviously the visionary, but I think I heard recently, I was listening to some different podcasts and stuff, and they were talking about how there's like two types of visionaries. There's one that's more like marketing centric, and is like the face of the company, the salesperson speaking on stage, closing deals, etc. And then there's another type of visionary that's like the product centric visionary, where they're just like building and putting great products out there, and then having a team that really goes out there and sells it, and they just like continue to refine the vision, but they're not like outselling and doing that whole bit. So it kind of sounds like you're the latter a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because you said you can sell, but you don't, that's not, and even you're talking about, I'm going to hire a CEO to do all this stuff so I can just
And I can do it. Like, I can do it. It's just, yeah. I'm in the process of building a sales team right now, so, but can I do it? Yes.
I'd love to hear more about that.
No. Yeah, just working on hiring a closer and a setter, and then having someone manage, and then building a bigger team. So that's been my goal. That's been my goal for quite some time, and I've been trying to figure it out myself. And when you try and figure stuff out yourself, it never works. So I've actually been interviewing other like companies to come in and help me. So I've interviewed 2. I have 1 next week, so I can make a decision and see. Yeah. So
Where are you generating leads right now?
Facebook ads and organic. I get a lot of stuff organic, but it's enough to just pay bills. So Facebook ads is what really helps.
And are you running to a group, or are you just running to a...
I run it to my Facebook group, and then I do DM ones as well, where they direct message me.
Okay. Cool.
So, and then I also have a freebie, like I have a free ebook, so I run ads to that as well. And then they go through my whole funnel process, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot to learn when you're in business. But then you learn like, okay, I like that, but I don't like that. I don't want to do that. You know what I mean?
What have you learned that you really love to do in business? That maybe you didn't even know about before?
What, something that I learned that I really love to do in business? I think I really do enjoy the back end HR stuff, like processes, SOPs, like handbooks, things like that. But I think it's obviously because I was in that field. So I don't think that it's anything new. You know what I mean? Like, but I've done sales. It's okay. I really enjoy that part of it. I think because I just know it. It's second nature.
Why don't you like sales?
I don't know. Like, I have to put it on my calendar. I put it on my calendar every day. 2 hours of sales. You have to go out. You have to outbound dial, and I'm like, but I don't know.
Oh, so you're outbound.
I think well, no, we get inbound, but there's a bunch of leads, so might as well dial. You have to outbound dial. I think because I used to work in a call center, so it's like metrics, and I don't know if you know about the color personalities.
I don't think so. Maybe.
So like someone that's interested more in like spreadsheets and things like that. I see sales like that. It's like very metric-y of like how many calls did you have and how much revenue did you have, like all of those things. I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. I just want to talk about the vision of, like, you know what I mean, the future.
Yeah.
So
No, I feel that. I mean, I'm definitely on the visionary side. I feel that so much. Like I just feel like ideas just keep on flowing through me. I mean, and the more I like get connected to myself, get connected to God, you know, staying centered, all this stuff just comes flying in.
it's amazing.
But then once you start like, oh, I'm gotta implement this, you're like, no.
I know, but I always say I have an obligation. Like, I know that I'm here on earth for a purpose, like to fulfill God's mission in my life, and so I have an obligation. It's an obligation. Like, he's telling me, you gotta go do this, and it's like, oh, okay, I gotta go do it. You know, even though I might be scared or I might be afraid.
Comes back to the initial conversation about
Yeah,
fear.
and it's like, are you sure that you want me to do this? I'm just double checking, and it's like, yes. It's like, okay, let's go do it.
I heard a quote that you might like. It said, your talents are gifts from God. But what you do with those talents are your gifts to God.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Gotta use your talents.
It's way more rewarding than just sitting in front of the TV all day and doing nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's easy. I could do that, but we got to do the hard work.
Well, I think it's like I've talked about this a lot. It's like you choose your heart.
expand.
You could say like sitting down and watching TV all day is easy, but then
It's actually hard because in
you
the end,
are on your deathbed or much before that, and you're like, oh man, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that? Could have done this. Would have done this. I have no energy now.
true.
But you could do it on the flip side where it's like, okay, maybe you have more of a tendency to want to do the easy things. I think inherently us as human beings, we're just kind of lazy. That's how we're programmed. We want to automate things so we have to think less because that takes energy. I find all this stuff really fascinating. So that's why people have more of a propensity to want to be lazy, want to just sit down and watch stuff. But the more you build up that habit, you can break free from that. But in the beginning, it's a lot harder. But then later on in life, you're like, damn, I did that, I did that, I did that. I pursued that, I became that, I am that because I chose to, rather than I don't feel like it. So it's like, choose your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Choose where you want it.
And it's showing up consistently every day, even when you don't want to. I was on my laptop yesterday till like 9 o'clock. I haven't done that in a while because I try to have work-life balance. So like by 5 p.m. the laptop's done. But I worked extra yesterday and I felt good about it. I'm like, okay, because you're gonna, sometimes you have to do that.
Well, my mentor right now brought up a pretty interesting concept. Be curious to hear what your take is on it. But he talks about loading capacity, which is basically like your output. And he says you want to sit in about a 60 to 70% loading capacity. Meaning, like if you're going balls to the wall all the time, hitting it hard, that's 100%. Right? So you got to find where you can scale back to about like I said, 60 to 70 so that you can keep at a good pace. And then when you have those times where you want to work till 9 p.m.,
You have the energy.
then that's the 90, that's the 100, and you have the energy to do that. But if you're always revving the engine at 100, and then at some point where you actually do need the 100, then you're going to burn out.
Mm-hmm. I've burnt out before, and it was not good.
What'd you do?
That I was going 100.
Re-clarify. What did you do after you burned out?
When I burnt out, well, it was a multitude of things. I had gone through a breakup and I had 3 deaths in the family plus a surgery, and I was going at 100% because I was trying to mask all that pain. So when I burnt out, I literally closed my business, not closed it, but I sent an email and I said, hey guys, I'm closing till, it was like August, September, closed till February. I'm taking 6 months off.
Damn.
And I did. And at the beginning of that, since I was just going through a lot and I was feeling burnt out, I was doing a lot of like going to the bar, having food and drinks, like really just enjoying myself, because when you are going at 100% all the time, you never have fun. And you don't go out, you don't socialize, nothing. So I was having fun. And I was binge watching Netflix and eating all the food. I was having a great time. But then after a month of that, it was like, all right, calm down. You gotta, And so I started like, meditating, and it took like 5 months of like recharging myself. And I promised myself I would never do that again. And so now when I have like personal things that happen, I take some time off. It might be a couple days or a week, but I just kind of step back, and I have the ability to do that now. And then when I work, I do have work-life balance. So like I make sure my phone is away and I'm not paying attention to it while I'm doing things. I take a nap every day in the middle of the day.
Really?
Oh yeah. I take a nap every day.
You seem very adamant about that.
Yeah. I make sure that I have a hard stop at 5.
Yeah.
I enjoy myself, so I do go out and socialize. You will catch me on TikTok scrolling sometimes, but it's just having a balance, because before I didn't know what that was. And especially during that season, I was even taking phone calls on the weekend or like 8 o'clock at night. And now I have very strict boundaries with people of like, you have to dial my business line. I'm only open from 9 to 4. If you catch me on the weekend, it'll take 48 hours to reach me, and then that has helped a lot. Just really like pumping the brakes a bit. The work will be there on Monday.
Yeah. Boundaries are huge.
Yes, it is. But having boundaries with yourself too, because if not, you're gonna burn out. It's hard. So, yeah.
Well, timer just hit, so we'll start wrapping up. But a few last questions I always like to ask. Rocky was the one that actually inspired me to start asking this question. And she said, what are people saying at your funeral?
She was amazing. She was a ball of light. She was a light. I think people will say that I was an inspiration to them. I was fearless, even though I had a lot of fear and I just did it anyways. But that I was a loving mother. I think that's the number one, is that I love, so overly obsessed with my child. That I'm a great mom, great friend. And I am a wonderful person. Like, I care deeply about people. And I think that if you know me personally, you know that I am a very spiritual person. I don't believe in, like, even though I'm dead, I'm gonna be here in the spirit haunting you. But yeah, I think it would be all good stuff that they would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say all that is already true.
Mm-hmm. And my soul will live forever. I know that. So it's just crossing over to another plane of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. All right, one last question. I've started doing this on the end of my podcast. Someone really smart told me to get really good at asking and giving. I've always been really good at giving, not as good at asking. And so I thought it was a cool exercise for myself, and I always like to open that up for my guests if they have any asks to anybody listening or me.
Ask. No, I don't really have anything. I think that if you are watching this podcast, really the only thing that I could ask of anyone is to go out there and be fearless, like we talked about. Mm-hmm. And I like to think that I'm not here to take from people. I'm here to give and be of service in this world. So if anyone is listening, it would be more so like, how can I support you? What can I do to support you in your endeavors? And do not feel afraid to reach out to me, because I will. You never know, I might give you a vision, just like I gave you a vision. Yeah, for me, it's more so, how can I be of service to other people? What can I do to help you?
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram, that I'm always on there, Janine Hernandez _ or my website, bookpublishingacademy.org. Those are the two best places.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll put all the links down there. We might have a little gift for you.
Oh, might?
That we want to share with you right now.
Okay.
It's the first time we've ever done this on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
So,
should I be scared?
maybe a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if you knew it, but your future self stopped by, and she wanted us to deliver something to you.
Aww.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Hey Janine, it's me, it's you, the future you. I'm so excited for you to get here, but I'm equally, if not more, pumped for you to embrace every moment until you do get here. It's cool to see how passionate, resilient, and courageous you are. I'm excited for you to see who you've become and all you've achieved. Yeah, the optimal health and vitality that allowed you to feel younger and younger every single day. The wealth you built that gave you the freedom and abundance you had always desired. The loving and committed relationships that filled your heart with so much joy. But most importantly, all the lives you've had a massive impact on, especially your own. Janine, I love you. I love who you are. I love who you've always been, and I love who you're constantly becoming. Now get up and make it a great day.
That's awesome. I feel like, I know it's going to sound weird, but I've been heavily into my inner child and protecting and loving her. And I kind of feel like she's like I'm her, like, child. Like, you know, I don't know. It's crazy. That was awesome. Of like listening to my future talk to me. Like, just keep going.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I listen to that every day?
Of course.
That was so awesome. I love it.
But yeah, again, like, thank you, because like you were such a pivotal person to sparking the whole idea about the vision videos and the audios, and like now we're building a company around it, and like that's what we're doing. So like felt it was
Thank you.
definitely in due timing that we did that for you.
Thank you. And I honestly, I don't think I did much. It's crazy because sometimes a person could just say one thing and it just like, you know? And all I did that day was just like, hey, I think this is going to be you one day. And then you ran with it. So it's like, thank you for trusting my vision.
Of course.
And I didn't even know you all that well then either. I was like, hey, look, this is you.
I think that's the power in like being a visionary, but also just like shining that light and telling people that like this is what I see in you. Like I think we don't fully grasp on what that can do for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm just such a big advocate of just pouring into people and telling them how amazing they are and seeing the best in people.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. That's like that made my day, I swear. It came at the perfect time because life has been a little hard, so I needed that. Thank you.
Yeah, we all do. Well, thanks for being on. Any last words?
If you're interested in publishing a book, I'm your girl. Just hit me up. And no, just thank you so much for having me on the podcast, for being a great friend. I truly appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thanks for coming through.
Thank you.
All right, my friend, thank you so much for listening to that episode of the Just Grow podcast. Glad that you made it all the way to the end. Trust you got an insane amount of value. Maybe even wrote down some notes, maybe put them in your phone, maybe send them to some friends. In fact, what I would strongly recommend that you do right now is send this episode to at least one friend, family member, loved one that you could think could get some amazing value from our message here at the Just Grow podcast, so that they can blast through their limitations and really hit the goals and dreams and desires that they truly want inside of their life.